As Bruno said, I'm Roman Shamin. I'm the head of design at Evil Martians. And today, I'd like to share with you a few thoughts about accessibility and dilemmas related to accessibility in user interfaces. But before we start, how many of you are designers in some way?
In some way.
In some way. Okay, perfect. People who are watching a stream, you please raise your hand too. I can see it. Yeah. Today, every time I say accessibility, I'm actually going to mean visual contrast or color contrast. And yeah, I must warn you because accessibility is a quite wide range knowledge, right? It includes a lot, but today we're going to talk about mostly colors and fonts, right? Okay, and as I said, even if we focus only on contrast problems, this is also a big knowledge, big area too, right? And we have a lot to learn here. So, what if I told you that actually we can narrow down this big knowledge to only two simple rules? Here they are. Rule number one, the larger text, the better. Rule number two, the higher contrast, the better. These rules are so simple, so obvious, right? We can call them unshakable rules because we can rely on them in any situation, right? They work every time, right? Right?
Yeah, if we're talking about the user experience, sure.
I'm messing with you. I should warn you. I'm going to mess with you. So please don't take my words for it so easily. No. Actually, today I'm going to highlight cases where these rules not only fail, they can make they can decrease the level of accessibility of your user interface. I hope you're curious. So let's move on. Again, before we start, let's talk about dilemmas. What is a dilemma? I believe you may know well-known the trolley dilemma or something like that, right? But today I suggest you consider it as a kid's swing, right? As a seesaw. Every time one kid goes up, another kid goes down. All right, so we can say that every time some parameter, for example, parameter A is at its maximum, that means that parameter B is at its minimum, and vice versa. Also, speaking about accessibility, no, actually, yeah. So does it mean that we can't win here? Uh, Suddenly, yes. Unfortunately, yes. We can't win, and this is why it's a dilemma. It's kind of designed this way. You cannot win. You have to consider your problem from all the sides, right? This is why it's a dilemma. For example, you may ask, like, hey, can we balance our seesaw in the middle position and win, right? No, because we have now we have equal amount of advantages and equal amount of pitfalls. So is it a win if we have pitfalls on both sides? I don't think so. Okay. Also, I suggest you to this interpretation for dilemmas related to accessibility. When it comes to accessibility, we cannot blindly adhere to rules. Remember our two simple rules. Okay, let's begin. Dilemma number one. Imagine that you are holding this phone and you're seeing this interface. Who can say what's the problem with it? Correct. Yeah, this is true. This phone is like this size, right? Because the text size is too small. No problem. We have our rule, right? The larger text, the better. Let's apply this rule to our problem. Now, even people on backyard can read every word, right? So this interface is perfect, right? Right? Remember, I'm messing with you. Yeah, yes, it's still a problem here, but the real problem is not the this text size is unattractive, right? It's aesthetically unappealing. No, the real problem here that this interface actually make us to scroll more, right? Because every tweet occupies much more space. It pushes us to scroll more, scroll more. It increases our like motor load, right? So what we have here in the left, we have the text that is hard to read, but actually, because the information is packed well, it demands to scroll less. It's great. Here we have easy to read text, but it's hard to scroll a lot. You may ask, hey, like our social media is designed to be constantly scrolled. What's the problem, right? I may ask that, hey, this problem works for every type of user interface. You all know this panel, right? It's Figma panel. And I just imagine, what if I made every text, every icon, every button twice as large? What would happen? Again, now it's easier to read, right? This, but take a look at the text properties section. With this panel, how it would work for you? You select text and you scroll to see text properties. You select another text and you scroll again. Select and scroll. It is even annoying to listen to this. All right. So this is the dilemma for us. All right. And another thing I want to mention here that this proves that when we do accessibility, when we work on accessibility, actually we don't do this for people with disabilities. We do this for everyone, for us, because everyone can find themselves in a situation where bad design slows you up, right? So, the dilemma number one is text size versus scroll usage. You kind of have to pick one. all right? And because this is a dilemma, I cannot give you a solution. But I can leave you with a few strategies that may help you. Every time you design a professional tool, any a professional tool, maybe it's a good idea to stick to a relatively smaller text because it will help you to pack information better, right? To give all the tools at hand, right? And if you're designing a consumer app, you're free to make your text bigger, have more space, right? Another thing, always test your app at minimum of 200% zoom, because you have seen it, all right? Like 200% zoom change layout dramatically, and this is our designer's job to check if everything works well. Dilemma number two. Again, imagine that we're reading this article. What's wrong with it?
Soft.
Yeah, contrast.
It's worse on the stream.
Yeah, the text is too light. There is almost no contrast. Again, we have our rule. All right, the higher contrast, the better. Okay, now I made every piece of text black, and now this article, this design is perfect, right? Right. Actually, yes, it's not bad. I mean, comparing to the first example, right, where it was like really bad. I think this is okay article, right? It's a little boring, but nothing wrong about it. But we can make it a little better. Take a look. So I can do this. Can you see it? Yeah. Back and again, back and again. What happened? I made this side note and the date gray. And what happened? These elements kind of made step back, right? And now we more clearly see what is important here, what is secondary thing, right? Uh, actually, actually, here we have four levels of importance. Obviously, title is the number one because it's big, bold, and black, right? Paragraph is number two, and side note is number three, and dates is the most unimportant element is level number four.
What about that underline thing? Like studies show, it's underlined because it's
It's a link.
clickable.
It's
yeah?
a link. Yeah, just
Okay.
I don't know. I
Well,
copy and pasted it.
for me right now, it's an accent as well, so I'm just wondering.
It should be. It's
Yeah.
it's a link, right?
Okay.
Okay. If we delve further to this layout, we'll figure out that actually here we're dealing with two types of contrast. The first one is the distance, the contrast between elements and their background, right? We have black text against white background and gray text against white background. We all know this, right? Another type of contrast is hierarchy. It's a distance contrast between elements, right? And the problem is that both contrasts are important for our perception. So both work for accessibility. And if everything black, if everything stands out, then nothing actually stands out, right? I want to ask you to focus because things are going to be a little more intense. So please focus. Let's look closer to our layout. I made it a little simpler. I left only a paragraph and a side note. Uh, and I measured the contrast between the side note and white background. It's 68. And I measured the contrast between these two, and it's 36. Don't pay a lot of attention to these numbers. I just can say that this distance is okay. I mean, they already like differentiate enough, right? They like enough, right? But what happens if we put this exact layout to a darker background? Pay attention. We have white background. It's the lowest level possible. Nothing can be light, right? And we have black text. It's the highest point. Nothing can be darker. And we have gray text in the middle. And we have 68 between the gray text and the background. And if the background goes up because it becomes darker, and we want to keep this distance 68 between side note and the background, side note should become darker, right? So background arises, side note arises, and what happens? Our black text is still here, so that the distance between them suffers. Now we have only 14, only 14, and I just wanted to say that every time we are working with any visual layout, we actually have an available range between white and black, right? And it's not really, it's not much actually. Like we barely placed like a paragraph and side note, right? But in this range, and every time we change something, for example, we make the background darker or the text lighter, we decrease this available range. I want you to have this in mind every time. And again, this dilemma works for every type of user interface. Here we have things which is a consumer app, and you can see that it actually doesn't like massively use like different grays, all right? But this is linear, and you can see how many grays it uses because it uses like background surface 1, surface 2, surface X, right? Like in the at the bottom it uses several like levels, and at the top it also uses like primary text, secondary text, tertiary text. So we have a lot of elements. So think carefully about available range. So the dilemma number 2 is contrast versus hierarchy. So what can we do about it? I remember our side note, right? Our poor side note. What actually can we do about it? Okay, we are limited in color. all right, because it became darker, and now we like we can make it lighter. So we can try to use like font size. If your audience can read this, you should check or be sure. I don't know. It's your job, not mine. You can use font style. For example, here I used narrow font style, or you can try italic, or you can use different font. Why not? Or you can use different design. For example, separator, or put your side note to a box with a different background. Be great. It's your job. Uh, if you're going to remember only one thing from my talk, please remember this. When it comes to accessibility, we cannot blindly adhere to rules. My name is Roman Shamin. You can follow me on Twitter at RomanShamin_EN. These are tools we have built at Evil Martians. Please use Polychrome. It's a contrast checker. It's free and available at Figma community. Harmony is a accessible UI color palette. It's also free and available at Figma community. Visit oklch.com. It's a color picker that aim to educate designers about OKLCH color model, which is the best color model ever. I believe me. Also, I designed two fonts. Martian Mona and Martian Grotesque. Martian Grotesque is a paid font, and you can find it on my phones. Martian Mona is a free font, and it's available on Google Fonts and on GitHub, and you can use it for personal and commercial projects. This is it. Muito obrigado. Thank you. Bye.